While writing an anti-Islam book, he became Muslim, the story of Joram van Klaveren. An unexpected journey. Sometimes truth comes to us in the most surprising ways. For Joram van Klaveren, a Dutch politician once known as the Crown Prince of Geert Wilders' far-right anti-Islam party, that truth came in the middle of a project meant to discredit Islam. He had set out to write a book exposing what he believed to be the dangers of the faith. Instead, he found himself drawn to the very religion he opposed. His journey from Islam's harsh critic to its devoted follower is one of the most remarkable modern conversion stories. Early life and political rise. Joram van Klaveren was born on January 23, 1979, in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Raised in a Christian Reformed household, he grew up with strong conservative values. Religion and politics were both deeply intertwined in his upbringing. From a young age, he learned to view the world through a lens shaped by his faith and his community's concerns about modernity and cultural change. By the time he reached adulthood, Joram became actively involved in politics. He joined Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom, Partij voor de Vrijheid, PVV, a right-wing party notorious for its harsh stance on Islam and immigration. The PVV argued that Islam was incompatible with Dutch values, and Joram quickly rose in its ranks, eventually earning a seat in the Dutch parliament in 2010. In the PVV, Joram became one of Wilders' most trusted allies. His strong speeches, intellectual style, and unwavering stance against Islam earned him the title of Crown Prince of the party. To many, he was a future leader in the making. His views on Islam. During his years with the PVV, Joram viewed Islam as a political ideology rather than a religion. He believed it posed a threat to Western values, freedom, and democracy. Like his party leader, he often referred to the Qur'an as a dangerous book and to Muslims as incompatible with Dutch society. He opposed the construction of mosques, fought against Muslim schools, and criticized Islamic practices. Islam, in his mind, was everything he stood against. So deep was his hostility that when he eventually left the PVV in 2014, he still carried with him the same negative views about Islam. His political disagreements with Wilders forced him out, but his criticism of Islam remained intact. The Anti-Islam Book Project. In 2014, after leaving the PVV, Joram decided to channel his energy into writing a book. His goal was ambitious: to write the ultimate critique of Islam. He wanted to expose what he considered its flaws, contradictions, and dangers. The book was meant to be a manifesto, a way of warning the world about Islam's supposed threat. He began by reading Islamic sources, diving into the Qur'an, Hadith, and historical accounts. He also studied scholarly debates and theological writings. But as he read more, something unexpected happened. The cracks in his beliefs. At first, Joram approached the Qur'an with suspicion, expecting to find confirmation of his negative beliefs. But instead of hatred or violence, he found passages that spoke of mercy, justice, and the oneness of God. He compared the Qur'an with the Bible, and for the first time, noticed contradictions in his own Christian tradition. Questions that had haunted him as a Christian suddenly found answers in Islam. For example, the Christian doctrine of the Trinity had always troubled him. How could God be one and yet three? Islam's uncompromising message of Tawheed, the oneness of God, struck him as pure and logical. As he continued studying, he encountered the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Instead of the caricature of a warlord painted by critics, he found a man of compassion, justice, and incredible patience. Inner conflict and struggles. The deeper Joram went into Islamic sources, the more uneasy he became. He was supposed to be writing an anti-Islam book, but instead he was collecting evidence that Islam was true. This caused a storm inside him. For years, he had built his career on opposing Islam. His identity, his politics, his reputation, everything was tied to being anti-Islam. How could he now admit that he had been wrong? At night, he wrestled with doubts. He asked himself, am I betraying my past? Or am I finally discovering the truth I was too blind to see? Encounters with Muslim scholars. During his research, Joram began corresponding with Muslim scholars and converts. One of the key figures who influenced him was a Dutch scholar of Moroccan origin. Through long conversations and debates, Joram realized that many of the arguments he had once used against Islam were based on misconceptions or half-truths. For example, he had often accused Islam of being violent. But when he studied the Qur'an in context, he saw that its verses promoted justice, self-defense, and peace, not blind aggression. He also debated Islamic laws, family life, and social order. Slowly, the answers he received began to dissolve his objections. The turning point. The real turning point came when Joram realized that the book he was writing had completely changed direction. Instead of becoming a critique of Islam, it was turning into a record of his own journey toward it. He could no longer deny the truth he had found. The more he tried to resist, the stronger his conviction grew. Finally, in 2019, Joram made his decision. After years of opposing Islam, after months of study and reflection, he declared his Shahadah, the testimony of faith that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. Public reaction. When the news broke that Joram van Klaveren had become Muslim, it shocked the Netherlands. Here was a man who had built his career on fighting Islam, now standing proudly as a Muslim. Some praised his courage. Others mocked him, calling him a traitor. Former allies in the far-right movement condemned him bitterly. But Joram stood firm. He knew that embracing Islam meant sacrifice, but for him, truth was more important than reputation. His book, From Anti-Islam to Pro-Islam. The book that began as an anti-Islam manifesto was eventually published under a very different title, Apostate, From Christianity to Islam in the Time of Secular Terror. In it, Joram tells the story of his intellectual and spiritual journey. Instead of attacking Islam, the book defends it. Instead of reinforcing stereotypes, it breaks them down. Life as a Muslim. Since becoming Muslim, Joram has dedicated himself to explaining Islam to others. He shares his journey in interviews, lectures, and debates, showing people that truth can be found in the most unexpected places. He often emphasizes that Islam gave him peace and answers to the questions Christianity could not resolve for him. He also works to correct misconceptions about Islam in Dutch society. His story has inspired thousands, reminding the world that Islam is not just for those born into it but is open to all who sincerely seek the truth. Lessons from his journey. Joram van Klaveren's story offers powerful lessons. Truth over pride. Admitting one's mistakes takes humility. Joram sacrificed his reputation to follow the truth. The power of knowledge. Instead of blindly accepting propaganda, he studied Islam's sources and found guidance. God guides whom he wills. Joram's journey shows that no matter how far someone may appear from Islam, Allah can open their heart. Never judge a seeker. Today's critic could be tomorrow's believer. Conclusion. From enemy to brother. The story of Joram van Klaveren is not just about a politician changing sides. It is about a man who dared to confront his own prejudices, who followed evidence even when it contradicted his past, and who embraced the truth when it became clear to him. He began writing an anti-Islam book. He ended by writing his own Shahadah. Today, Joram stands as a living reminder that Islam's light can reach even the darkest corners of misunderstanding. His journey from enemy to brother is proof that guidance belongs to Allah alone.